Yeah, written off by many before the turn of the year. Leicester know that a win today by 3 goals could lift them out of the bottom 3. There's been back-to-back wins for the Foxes, and following today's game, 3 of their last 7 are against relegation rivals starting at Burnley next week. Today's opponents, Swansea, equalled their highest ever points total in the Premier League with a point against Everton last week and haven't been out of the top half of the table all season. They've taken 7 points in their last 9 available and are looking to go 4 unbeaten for the first time in over 2 years. The team used today 3 changes for Leicester. Richie Delat, Leonardo Ulloa, Matty James drop out. Marcin Vasilevski, Andy King and Andrej Kramaric come in. 2 enforced changes for Swansea. Neil Taylor suspended and Bafatimbi Gomes is injured. Jordi Amat comes into defence and Nelson Oliveira starts up front. At the KP, it's Leicester against Swansea.
One that will go up at 25 past, pre-scheduled. Is Hoffenheim Bayern Munich. Oh. Hi. Oh. Yeah. It's your work tension. Falling away. Yeah. What a concerning sound that was. Sounded like you were dying or something. What's this from Oliver? Yeah. What is it? Monte Carlo. What is it? Monte Carlo? Yeah. Masters. The Monte Carlo Masters. I've heard of it, but I obviously didn't know it was on. Alright. You're not following? I am not following it now. Because tennis is rubbish. Oh. Okay. Tom. Yes. Very quick one. Yes, it is. Google it. Sorry. On YouTube, he's not. That's on. He made his debut. Might be a 4 bar or something. Yeah. Daniel. Deonta. Look at those flowers. I'm hoping it might be the correct spelling, but it didn't. You go on. Deonta. Really, someone can't understand why Premier League not allows fans to carry on. Wow, I do not know this one, mate. What's actually on that? Take your start. I'm ready. I've already done it. And it's what Palace from? Yeah, I said a record-breaking fifth straight win. It's a record time fifth straight win. So I've just said it again. Sorry, mate. I might have been. I have no idea. 11. It might be worth going around to the Spanish and asking how they say it. Okay. Where are they? They are. Oliver. In the German Bundesliga. I'm your host, Kevin Hatchard, and it's matches brought to you by talkSPORT. Tune in, listen, world. I would do it. The precious few days is unique. With foreign commentating not only on their free matches, but also German channel. Thanks, Club Doctor. Yes, I'll actually. After nearly 4 decades of service, Volpout says his medical team claims you're the beat Alcatraz now. So was it Coach Captain who sent him back? Greece, we are on in 3 minutes. Please, come and take your position. Come in the seats of wonder.
this guy, is it the guy from Stoke?
Yeah.
Jonathan Teixeira. Teixeira, yeah, like, isn't he half Brazilian or something like that? Yeah, I think he's got like dual, what do you call it? Like two parents. Yeah.
I think that's as good a goal as we're going to get.
Gazzaniga.
He's the one that Toby Guinness once had a Brazilian on his head. Have you done your team news, Jack?
Yes, I have, sorry.
Chelsea have nicked a winner, surely it's the man in the mask. Cesc Fabregas side-footing home, and Chelsea take another giant step towards the title.
Methodist stand over it for Ashley Young to take, right-footed, free header for 4-1. Manchester United are running away with it. Chris Smalling has got in on the axe.
I believe in facts. And the fact is now that we are behind Chelsea. But all right, we have to play against them, and Arsenal has to play against them, so we can lay pressure on Chelsea's shoulders. That's true, and then you never know.
And then tomorrow, Manchester City versus West Ham United from the Etihad Stadium.
Bonnie's won it. Bonnie lifts it in. Goal. Wilfred Bonnie scores the opening goal for Manchester City. The first goal of his City career for Wilfred Bonnie.
Yeah, for Cresswell over the wall, and Aaron Cresswell. It's a wonderful strike from Aaron Cresswell. His second goal of the season, and an all-important one for Sam Allardyce.
We want to hit the 50-point mark, or better. And I think that that will then make sure that we finish higher than we've finished in the Premier League in the 3 seasons we've been there. And I think that then makes us having had a very good season again and progressed in the right manner with our players and our investment in the squad.
Followed by Newcastle versus Tottenham Hotspur from St James's Park.
Cabella's got the other side of Coquelin, gets the ball across the face, the penalty area and it's Sissoko.
Kyle Walker inside the area, the cutback comes to Kane! It's 2! Harry Kane is just too hot to handle.
I think this is our real opportunity to show different things and increase our performance. I think it's a very important game because after the defeat again Villa at home, I think that we need recovery the feeling to the victory, the positive result.
That's all still to come on Barclays Premier League Live with talkSPORT. The Barclays Premier League Live.
Oh, would you believe it?
Don't miss a single second of the most exciting competition in world football.
They've done it! They've turned it around!
Bringing you all the goals, the drama, the controversy, the exhilaration, the highs and the lows.
Oh, it's a magnificent goal!
This is Barclays Premier League Live.
Welcome to our coverage of Everton against Burnley from Goodison Park. I'm your host, Adam Bridge. Alongside me is the former Arsenal, Cardiff City and Wales defender Reece Weston. You're listening to Barclays Premier League Live with talkSPORT. A return of 5 points from 24 would generally be considered unacceptable. But when you're fighting relegation and taking on the top 8 in the Premier League in those 8 games, then it's not a bad accumulation. And it's been enough to keep Burnley firmly in with a shot at survival. The prize for a win here today could be 16th place. But to earn that, they'll need to start scoring again. They've managed just 1 in their last 6 Premier League games, with Ings failing to score in 7. But it's not just about the goals. 2 wins in 34 away games in the Premier League tell its own story. And they're away from Turf Moor for 4 of their remaining 6. So today would be a good time to find some form on their travels if their Premier League dream is to continue. Everton's 4-game unbeaten run has banished any for Roberto Martinez's side. Their eyes will be firmly fixed on a top 10 finish in a season where the Europa League has stretched their squad to its limits. The early season errors have been eradicated, and they look a bit more like the Everton of last season. They are, however, 25 points worse off than at this stage last campaign, a sign that last year's loanees haven't delivered since joining permanently. For Burnley, this could be the opportunity they want, as Everton's season is effectively over. Let's have a look at the 2 sides for you. We'll start with Everton. There's one change from the 1-1 draw against Swansea, and that's the absence of Osman through injury. Morales comes in. It's Howard in goal. Baines, Jagielka, Stones and Coleman the back 4. Barry the holding midfielder. Morales, Barkley, McCarthy and Lennon in midfield. behind Rune Kone up front. There is a return for Lukaku on the bench. As for Burnley, they're unchanged. No surprise there from the side which lost 1-0 to Arsenal. Heaton's in goal. Trippier, Duff, Shackle and Mee the back four. Boyd, Arfield, Jones and Barnes in midfield, supporting Danny Ings, who's partnered by Sam Vokes up front for Burnley this afternoon. Alongside me for this game is Reece Weston. Reece, good afternoon. It's all become really quite interesting at the bottom. They've all concertinaed together, but Burnley, if they're going to stand any chance, this is the kind of game where they need to go out and get 3 points.
Yeah, they've given themselves a chance. You know, as you said, they haven't been electrifying away from home all season, hence the reason at the bottom of the table. But you know, Everton have stuttered along this season. They've started to hit a little bit of form over the last few games, but you know, they've massively underachieved this year, Everton, and as you rightly say, their season's essentially fizzled out. It's a great opportunity for Burnley to pick up some away points today.
If you are in the middle of the table like Everton are, and you've got a game like this today where you have got one of the sides struggling near the bottom coming to you, what's your mentality? What's the attitude when, in effect, your season's over?
I think the manager's role is vital in these kind of fixtures, because Everton will want to finish the season strongly and try and maintain some momentum going into next year. But Burnley will sense this as a real opportunity. If they acquit themselves as they have of recent games, they've been in a lot of the games they've actually fallen foul of. But you know, as a player in these games, you just got to try and focus on your individual performances. And you know, Everton, they've got you know, a reasonably strong side out today. But I think Burnley have got a real opportunity to pull off an upset here.
Plenty to come before kick-off today. More to come from Reece Weston in a while, not only on this game, but in also some of the other fixtures taking place on what is a big weekend of football. But before we get into this weekend, I think we ought to have a look at the best of last weekend as we look back at the Barclays Premier League and talkSPORT.
It's 2 against 2 if they can work the ball quickly enough. Vardy, yes! In off the post! And Vardy has surely won the game for Leicester City!
And it could be 4. It is 4. And Bellatti has got his hat-trick.
Tadic plays it through. This is Morgan Schneiderlin. Pala! He's done it! The contract is over for Graziano Pala. And Southampton are home and dry. It's the first time ball for Benteke in. And it's 1-0 to Aston Villa. And it's Christian Benteke again.
He makes the save, surely. How has this not gone in? It finally has, when it came out to Aaron Ramsey.
Here's Hazard again. Lays it off. Oh, Chelsea have nicked a winner. Surely it's the man in the mask. Mehta does stand over it for Ashley Young to take. Right-footed. Free header for 4-1. Manchester United are running away with it. Chris Smalling has got in on the act. Manchester City are capitulating just as their title defence has done.
Well, they featured in the big game of last weekend, that victory against Manchester City for Manchester United. They are one of the 2 formed sides in the Premier League right now. We'll come to Arsenal in a moment, who are in FA Cup action, but let's start with Manchester United. They go to Chelsea in our late kick-off today. Richard Connolly and Darren Eadie will bring that game to you. Mouth-watering, to say the least.
Yes, it's a really attractive fixture. Manchester United, you know, we sort of start the season very slowly. A lot of players bedding in, new manager. But they've really hit form, and you know, putting 4 past Manchester City last week, they look really impressive. They dominated that game for the majority of the 90 minutes, and it's going to be a real test for Chelsea today. But Chelsea, you know, they're an efficient machine, especially at home. They don't concede many goals, and I think if Chelsea can get through this game unscathed, come away, even a point will do them at this stage of the season, I think the title is pretty much theirs.
Have Manchester United leapt off the downward escalator and are on the other side? Are they going to go up from now, do you think?
I think so. I don't share Tom's optimism about the winning the league next season, but I think...
to be fair, our producer Tom thought they'd win it this season.
This is also true. But no, they're definitely moving in the right direction. I think their defensive frailties have been evident. I think they'll have the funds to add to their squad next season, and if they can get the defence right, then they're going to be a real match for anybody. And I think Manchester United will be far more of a challenge next year.
Which is interesting, really, because if United are coming back into form, we're seeing a slight decline in what City are offering. The other form side at the moment with 8 wins on a bounce is your former club, of course, Arsenal, which all of a sudden reminded me we're heading back to the 90s here. Are Arsenal and Manchester United about to become the 2 dominant forces at the top of the Premier League again?
I think it's a fair way to go for both sides, to be perfectly honest. Arsenal, in typical Arsenal fashion, just stuttered along, you know, flattered the sea for lengthy periods at the start of the season. And finally something clicks and they realise then, you know, if we just play the way we know we can play, then they can steamroll the teams. But I think that they're a long way. They're not consistent enough. You know, looking at Chelsea, the way Chelsea have played this season, they haven't always played well. But in typical Mourinho fashion, they're well organised. They can grind games out. You know, you see against QPR, they won the game in the latter stages, 1-0, scruffy win, but they win. And that's the difference. Manchester United and Arsenal don't have that kind of steely determination at the moment to grind results out. They either steamroller teams or they kind of have a wishy-washy performance and don't quite match up to what they should be.
So we have Chelsea Man United for you later. We also have Arsenal against Reading, a 5:20 kick-off in the FA Cup semi-final. Very quickly, only one winner in that today, surely.
Yes. I would like to think so, but you never know what can happen in these cup fixtures. You sort of 7-5 debacle a couple of seasons ago, and I can't see that happening today, but I would like to think with Arsenal's current form and Reading struggling in the Championship that it should be a formality.
Well, there are two late kickoffs today, then 5:20. Arsenal against Reading gets underway in the FA Cup semi-final, and then directly after us at 5:30 kickoff, Chelsea versus Manchester United with Richard Connolly and Darren Eadie. When we come back, we'll take you around the other 3 o'clock kickoffs this afternoon. We'll get all your team news and hear from the managers in a moment. This is talkSPORT's coverage of the Barclays Premier League Live.
Still to come on Barclays Premier League Live. Everton versus Burnley from Goodison Park.
Lays it down the line to McCarthy. It's a good delivery. A chance here for Aaron Lennon. And the opening goal goes the way of Everton. It's his second for the Toffees. Company wins it back to Boyd. Oh, what a goal! George Boyd fizzes it in for Burnley and sends Turfmoor wild.
We've done a lot of work to be where we are after being written off so heavily, and we're certainly in the pack. Performance-wise, I've been pleased. We know we've got to win games, of course. That's the nature of the business, but there has to be a foundation there, and I think performance-wise, we've delivered good performances against some very, very strong sides recently.
Followed by Chelsea versus Manchester United from Stamford Bridge.
Here's Hazard again, lays it off. Oh, Chelsea have nicked a winner. Surely it's the man in the mask. Says Fabregas, side-footing home. And Chelsea take another giant step towards the title. Method does stand over it for Ashley Young to take right-footed. Free header for 4-1. Manchester United are running away with it. Chris Smalling has got in on the act.
I believe in facts. And the fact is now that we are behind Chelsea. But all right, we have to play against them, and Arsenal has to play against them. So we can lay pressure on Chelsea's shoulders. That's true. And then you never know.
And then tomorrow, Manchester City versus West Ham United from the Etihad Stadium.
Bonny's won it. Bonny lifts it in. Goal. Wilfred Bonny scores the opening goal for Manchester City. The first goal of his City career for Wilfred Bonny.
Left for Cresswell over the wall, and Aaron Cresswell. It's a wonderful strike from Aaron Cresswell. His second goal of the season, and an all-important one for Sam Allardyce.
We want to hit the 50-point mark, or better. And I think that and make sure that we finish higher than we've finished in the Premier League in the 3 seasons we've been there. And I think that then makes us having had a very good season again and progressed in the right manner with our players and our investment in the squad.
Followed by Newcastle versus Tottenham Hotspur from St James's Park.
Cabella's got the other side of Coquelin, gets the ball across the face, the penalty area and in! And it's Sissoko!
Kyle Walker inside the area, the cutback comes to Kane! It's 2! Harry Kane is just too hot to handle!
I think this is our real opportunity to show different things and increase our performance. I think it's a very important game because after the defeat again Villa at home, I think that we need recover the feeling to the victory, the positive result.
That's all still to come on Barclays Premier League Live with talkSPORT.
Welcome back to Goodison Park, where this afternoon our eyes are focused on Everton against Burnley as Burnley try and make their way out of the bottom 3 in the Barclays Premier League. Reminder that team news, one change for Everton. Osman's out, Morales comes in, Lukaku is on the bench. Burnley, no surprise, are unchanged from the team which took on Arsenal and went down by a 1-0 last week. More from Goodison Park to come soon, but let's get round the grounds of our other 3 o'clock kickoffs this afternoon. And we'll start as Tony Pulis goes to his former side, Crystal Palace. He takes his current charges, West Brom there. Team news to come from Tin Long in a moment, but first let's hear from the managers, Alan Pardew and the aforementioned Mr. Pulis.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're in a terrific mood in terms of our confidence. We have great momentum, and we're at home in front of most passionate of crowds, so a game to look forward to.
The thing we've got to do more than anything else is actually get back to not making individual mistakes. If you look at the performances, the individual mistakes that we made, the 20 minutes that we had against QPR, last minute, the last minute incident with Gareth, even Ben going back to the game at Aston Villa with 30 seconds to go, Ben's a top goalkeeper and makes that mistake that cost us a game there. So it's been individual that have cost us, and it's something that they have to eradicate, because in the Premiership it is a test in place.
Today, Tony Pulis returns to the club he pulled from seemingly certain relegation up to 11th in the table, en route to winning Premier League Manager of the Year. Alan Pardew might just steal that title from him this season. Palace aiming for a record-tying 5th straight Premier League win and a top-half finish. In fact, Pardew and Pulis have earned 63 points from their combined 38 games as manager at Palace. That tally would have seen them finish 8th last season, or 6th the season before. Pardew makes just one enforced change from the 4-1 win at Sunderland. Pape Souaré hasn't recovered from injury, so Joe Ledley plays at left-back. Pulis' new side have lost 3 straight to plant a seed of doubt about their safety. One more win should finish the job, though. One enforced change for them too, from the 3-2 defeat to Leicester last week. Injured Brown Day replaced by Victor Anichibi. It's the Aggies at Selhurst Park.
An intriguing encounter, not just for Pulis going back to his former side, but they've shipped 10 goals in their last 3 games at West Brom. We're just looking at their fixtures coming up. Palace today, obviously. Liverpool away, Liverpool at home, Man United away, Newcastle away, Chelsea at home, and Arsenal away. 33 points, they're not out of trouble yet, are they?
No, not by a long shot. That's a horrendously tough running for them. Looking at those fixtures, today is massive for West Bromwich Albion. The only game you look at there is the Newcastle fixture, whereby you might catch Newcastle in a slightly lackadaisical mood. Obviously, they haven't got much to play for themselves. So yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really, really tough for West Brom.
It's also interesting when you think that he left Palace, saying he couldn't really take the club any further, and arguments about the purchasing of players, and yet here at Palace, comfortably above them in the table. Yeah,
it is ironic. And you're never fully going to understand what went on behind the scenes at Palace when Tony Pulis was there, under a bit of a cloud. But with the greatest of respect to Alan Pardew, he's gone in there and he's galvanised the team. He's given them a real lift, and some of the results have been outstanding. And they look like a proper Premier League outfit now. He's not renowned for his organisational skills, but he's got Palace, everyone's singing from the same hymn sheet, and they've been on a really, really good run. And if they can get 5 straight wins, the best in their club's history, then fair play to them.
Big encounter today. You'll be able to hear that game via the website talksport.com. Let's move on. Leicester take on Swansea today. A chance for Leicester potentially to drag themselves out of the bottom 3 as well if they can get some goals against Swansea. We'll hear the team news from James Field in a moment, but first let's hear from the managers. Gary Monk's coming up, and first Nigel Pearce.
Ultimately, we've got to produce results in enough games now. 7 games, 5 at home. But as I've said many times, our home form needs to improve. Certainly, on the basis of looking at performances recently, we've increased our chances, but we've got to continue to stay very much focused on what we do ourselves and not get carried away with all the speculation and maths that go on elsewhere.
The way we've done it this season, we really have just focused on the next game, and those 3 points are the most crucial points that we can set our sights on. So it's Leicester on Saturday. It's 3 points to fight for, and we'll try and do that again. We've done that pretty much. It's worked for us this season, focusing like that. So that's how we'll remain.
Yeah, written off by many before the turn of the year, Leicester know that a win today by 3 goals could lift them out to the bottom 3. There's been back-to-back wins for the Foxes, and following today's game, 3 of their last 7 are against relegation rivals starting at Burnley next week. Today's opponents, Swansea, equalled their highest ever points total in the Premier League with a point against Everton last week, and haven't been out of the top half of the table all season. 7 points in the last 9 available, and are looking to go 4 unbeaten for the first time in over 2 years. The team used today 3 changes for Leicester. Richard Delatte, Leonardo Ulloa, Matty James drop out. Marcin Vasilevski, Andy King and Andrej Kramaric come in. 2 enforced changes for Swansea. Neil Taylor suspended and Bafétimbi Gomis is injured. Jordi Amat comes into defence and Nelson Oliveira starts up front. At the KP, it's Leicester against Swansea. 2 weeks ago, Reece, I sat on this very programme and said they had to start winning. It was do or die. They have. They've won 2 on the bounce. Will they make it 3 today?
Well, it's going to be tough for them, but yeah, I think confidence is high. Home game against Swansea. Swansea again have had a fantastic season by their standards. Yeah, it's a very winnable game for Leicester, and 3 games on the bounce at this stage is you know, it's immeasurable.
Well, how big is confidence at that point? You know, you end of the season, you're fighting for your lives. That third win, 9 points out of 9, it must just send the confidence through the roof.
Absolutely, and all of a sudden you start believing in what you're doing a little bit more. I mean, Leicester, to be fair, they've hung in there. They've been unlucky in a lot of games this season, but they've given themselves a fighting chance. They've got a couple of games in hand with over and above the teams above them. You know, a win today would set them well on their way to survival, and I think they've got a real strong chance. If they go about their business like they did last week, they've got every chance.
Another huge afternoon for Leicester City and for Nigel. Last of our 3 o'clock kickoffs today sees Stoke taking on Southampton, who are still battling hard for that 5th spot in the Barclays Premier League. The team news from Dan Windle to come, but let's hear from Mark Hughes and Ronald Koeman.
The targets and goals that we set ourselves at the beginning of the year are very much still there for us, so that's a challenge for us, that we're able to keep our focus. I was really pleased, obviously, with our performance at West Ham. I thought we showed real strength of character. If we were a team that was looking too far ahead to the break, then we wouldn't have been able to score as late as we did against West Ham last week. I think that shows that we're very much focused on what we have to do right up to the end.
It's not important to look to the teams in front of us on the table, because we have to win, and if you win and other teams are struggling, then you come closer, and then maybe you have a good possibility. But now at the moment, I think we have to focus ourselves to the 6th and the 7th position on the table.
A trip to the Britannia to keep faint top 4 ambitions alive. The task on the hands of Ronald Koeman's Southampton this afternoon. A return of just 7 goals scored in their last 10 clashes. Must improve, though, to get close to achieving the above for the Saints. No wins in their last 4, but a late point garnered last time out for Stoke ticks them closer to their highest ever top-flight points record. Just 7 points to go. Team news for the host: 3 changes. Eric Peters replacing Mark Wilson. Stephen Ireland and Mamir Diouf slot in for Charlie Adam and the injured Victor Moses elsewhere. For the visitors, the man whose future continues to be surrounded by speculation, Nathaniel Klein, returns along with Dusan Tadic. We expect a switch to 3 at the back from the Saints. 4 of their last 5 between these sides, league draws from 3 live at the Britannia. Stoke City versus Southampton.
If you want to hear any of those other 3 games, talksport.com is your destination, or via the app at TuneIn, and we'll keep you posted on the goals as they go in, while we focus on Everton against Burnley in the sunshine at Goodison Park. Let's focus on that game now, and let's hear from the Everton manager, Roberto Martinez. He says it's quite important to end the season strongly.
For us, we are in a position that, as Everton, we want to fight for every point and get as many points as we can and finish as high in the table, and that's very important. Maybe from the outside they don't see it as an important ending of the season. I can guarantee you that from our point of view, internally, and for our fans and as a football club, the next 6 games are very important to set things in place for next season, to finish the season strong, and to making sure that we take advantage of the good moment of form that we are enjoying now.
Kone plays it down the line to McCarthy. It's a good delivery. A chance here for Aaron Lennon. And the opening goal goes the way of Everton. It's his second for the Toffees. And Aaron Lennon, with less than 4 minutes until half-time, gives Roberto Martinez the lead.
We need to assemble a really strong squad for next season, and the next 6 games is first and foremost opportunity for some young players to make sure that they show that they're ready for big, important roles for next campaign, and everyone else having a real strong competition to wanting to be very important figures for the future at Everton.
That's Roberto Martinez. It's been a really frustrating for everyone connected to the club, I think, because they felt, having got in the Europa League and all the rest of it last season, having a really good first term, that they would kick on, but it's just not worked out like that.
No, I can see where the frustrations would come from. They added Lukaku to the squad on a full-time basis, and he stuttered along a little bit, and they have. I think the best way to sum them up is they've underachieved, and they are a very good footballing side under Martinez, and you've seen that of late, that they're starting to realise the potential they showed last season, but for one reason or another they had a little bit of a hangover at the start of the year, and that really cost them, and to be 25 points worse off than they were at this stage last season, that's a significant drop-off.
The key to it as well has been the form here at Goodison Park. I mean, I've seen games where the fans were booing when they were passing the ball backwards and stuff. They've only won 5 Premier League home games, and yet last season they had a run where they won 7 on the bounce, and they looked almost
unbeatable at Goodison Park, but it just all seems to have evaporated.
Yeah, and we alluded to it earlier on in commentary about the confidence factor. You know, the more games you lose, the more elusive that win becomes, and you know, pressure soon builds up, and especially on the back of such a successful season for Everton last year, the fans were expecting big things, and I think the players started to feel the pressure a little bit, hence the reason the performances quite where they should be.
Well, as you said, the form has been better in 2015. They've only Arsenal have conceded less goals at home than Everton have. Today's visitors, though, Burnley, well, what can they do? A tough 8 games are done with. Now Everton are on the horizon. Here's the thoughts of Sean Dyche, who says the players have the right mentality to avoid relegation.
We'd got so used to winning last season. We only lost 5 games. And then, you know, to come to this season, it's not impossible but improbable that you're going to only lose 5 games, you know, when you're Burnley Football Club coming into the Premier League. So we kind of spoke about this idea that was behind just winning, drawing and losing. That, you know, what is it behind that? What is it, the motivation behind that? Because we felt it might be needed. So I've been really pleased with that mentality. It's, as you suggest, it stayed firm all the way through the season, even in the early part of the season when we were heavily questioned for not winning. That solid kind of mentality was there all along. The will and desire, I feel, to improve, you know, and it's been there all along. And there's been some good signs of it with some big results. And now, you know, we've got these 6 big games, important games for many different reasons, in order to kind of make sense of it all and deliver performances.
Company wins it back to Boyd! Oh, what a goal! George Boyd fizzes it in for Burnley and sends Turf Moor wild.
We know we've got to win games, of course. That's the nature of the business, but there has to be a foundation there. And I think performance-wise, we've delivered good performances against some very, very strong sides recently. Your hope and demand of the players is to take them performances into teams that are not flying in the division. So we want to take all of the things that we've learned over the season, we want to put them all together and take them into the last 6 games.
Lots of Sean Dyche, the Burnley boss. Is there a manager that people probably admire more than Sean Dyche in the Premier League? I'm not sure there is. He's stuck by the side that got him promoted. He's picked the 9 on the same 11 weeks out, and they find themselves in with a fighting chance.
Yeah, he's a real amiable character, Sean Dyche. You know, he always conducts himself really well. He comes across great with the media. And as you say, you mean looking at Burnley's starting lineup today, there's no real what you call Premiership pedigree there. You know, hardly any of these boys have played in the Premier League before, and for them to come up into the Premier League, it was always going to be tough for them. But as you say, he's stuck to his guns. They've tried their hearts out. Every time they go on the pitch, they give 100% for him and the fans, and they give themselves a fighting chance. And you say that win against Manchester City, I don't think there's any fan in the country that wasn't a Man City fan that didn't you know, really embrace that victory for Burnley, and they are capable of causing upsets, and I think they need to be on their mettle today. But like you said, it's a tough ask, but one they've acquitted themselves to really well. Danny
Ings hasn't scored for 7 games. The side have only scored 1 in 6, and they're not keeping clean sheets either. If you're not doing either, it can make life quite difficult, can't it?
I would suggest that is very much the case, yeah. And the table doesn't lie, and if you're not scoring goals and you're conceding goals, then invariably you're going to spiral downwards, and something's got to give. And I think, you know, these last 6 games are obviously going to make or break their season, and football can change around very, very quickly, and who knows what's going to happen.
Would it be good for football if Burnley survived?
I guess so. Everyone loves an underdog story, don't they? You know, I think so. I think it would be. I think that a lot of people will be rooting for Burnley, given their financial status and how they've conducted themselves this year in the Premier League. Do they deserve to stay up? That remains to be seen, but I think a lot of people would like them to stay up.
And as for Sean Dyche, where does he sit in terms of as a manager? I mean, is he going to go on to great things, or can't we tell that yet?
I think it's early days. It's early days, you know, for a manager who's relatively inexperienced. You know, he's got to manage at a higher level for a longer period of time before he'll be judged accordingly. But he's done a fantastic job at Burnley. No one can argue that fact. And you know, if they do stay up and Burnley kick on and progress, then who knows where he can go.
Teams are in the tunnel. The thoughts of Reece Weston, who'll be alongside me for the big kick-off, which is just 5 minutes away. You're listening to Barclays Premier League Live with talkSPORT.
One planet. Game, one football. The all-new One Football app is available right now for iOS, Android and Windows phones. With all the latest football news, live scores, results, highlights and more from the Premier League, Champions League and hundreds of international competitions. Download the One Football app from the
Welcome to our coverage of Leicester City against Swansea City from the King Power Stadium. I'm your match commentator, James Fielden. This game is being brought to you by talkSPORT.com, Westwood One Sports in the USA, the One Football app across mainland Europe and Latin America, and the TuneIn Radio app. Listen to the world. Well, it's amazing how quickly things can change in football. Written off by many before the turn of the year, Leicester know that a win today by 3 goals could lift them out the bottom 3. It's been back-to-back wins for the Foxes, and following today's game, 3 of their last 7 are against relegation rivals starting at Burnley next week. Today's opponent, Swansea, equalled their highest ever points total in the Premier League with a point against Everton last week, and haven't been out of the top half of the table all season. They've taken 7 points in the last 9 available and are looking good to go 4 unbeaten for the first time in over 2 years. Teams out on the pitch here at the King Power Stadium. Lovely sunny day in the East Midlands, a bit of a breeze, but great conditions for football. A few changes made by Nigel Pearson today in the Leicester side. Richie Delatt is out, as is Matty James. Leonardo Ulloa was set to be on the bench, but David Nugent has picked up a calf injury during the warm-up, so Ulloa comes into the 11. Tom Lawrence promoted to the bench, and also in the 11, Marcin Wasilewski and Andrzej Kramaric. 2 enforced changes for Swansea. Neil Taylor is suspended, so he's out, and Bafétimbi Gomis is injured. So Jordi Amat comes into right back with Angel Rangel going to left back, and Nelson Oliveira starts up front. He's raw around the ground as we have to get underway here. Our referee today, Lee Probert, checking his watches. Leicester have scored 2 or more goals in 3 successive Premier League games, the first time since November 2003. Their job today to beat Swansea to get out of the bottom 3, and they're on the attack straight away. What a start this could be! Nearly into the area, but eventually it was Vardy who was dispossessed. But a bright start by Leicester, who are onto it again, edge of the area with Kramaric. It's worked wide to this right-hand side for Mark Albrighton. Crosses early, loops one in, but it's a claim for Łukasz Fabianski in goal. Fabianski having a bit of a go at his defenders early on, telling them to brighten up and wake up here. Vardy took about 3 players on as he ran straight down the middle. Eventually, Federico Fernandez halting his run. Swansea can intercept for Leicester. The Arsenal have made more interceptions than Leicester this season. Plenty of games, haven't lost by too big a margin. Cross in here from Vardy is cleared away for a throw on this near side. Our main game today, Everton against Burnley, also Stoke versus Southampton, and Crystal Palace versus West Brom for you available. Leicester with this ball in again from Albrighton, but Fabianski once again claims a high ball which was over the head of everyone. The Polish goalkeeper able to get there. Beaten in the last 3 Premier League games, Swansea City, starting with that win against Villa towards the end of March, and then beating Hull after the international break, drawing it home to Everton last week. Leicester not lost since before the international break when they were beaten 4-3 at Tottenham. Swansea's last defeat on the Monday Night Football, 16th of March, at home to Liverpool. Leicester suddenly have something to play for again, as I was saying. Plenty had written them off, saying that they were gone already, but they have proved them wrong and come back to put on a decent display in the last couple of weeks. Here's Albrighton down the right, plays the ball inside for Kramaric. Brighton with a nice ball down the right, and it's a trip from Jordi Amat, which brings a free kick here for Leicester, maybe the first card of the game as well. Amat does receive a yellow card. It's King racing forward down the right, and just had his legs stripped a couple of yards outside the penalty area. And a goal in the other games. West Brom leading at Crystal Palace thanks to a James Morrison goal. Leicester with a free kick here, right-hand corner of the penalty area. All Brighton over it. Ulloa, Huth, Vasilevsky, Morgan. It's in the middle. All Brighton with the kick. Everyone's ready. Looped into the area. Header in on goal. It's a high one from Huth and it'll be claimed by Fabianski under no pressure. That's it. Roots it long downfield, but let's have it back again with Cambiasso edge of the area. Tries to feed it into Kramaric. Cambiasso again, making room for himself, trying to lift the ball into the area, but he's cut out and brought away by Gylfi Sigurdsson. Rowlich. His 27th start of the season. He's been a regular in Gary Monk's side. He's won 21 of his 55 matches in charge so far. Lively start by Leicester. It's 0-0 here at the King Power with 4 minutes gone. And a lovely day here, as I was saying, in the East Midlands at a stadium which will hold rugby matches later this year in the Rugby World Cup, taking place in September and October. A few matches being played here in the Midlands. It's all about football for now. Shelvey inside. Switches play to Rangel. Key on halfway line here is Jack Cork for Swansea, but he's been dispossessed, and then chips Vardy and the free kick is given to the Foxes. Good start by Nigel Pearson's side. Won both games in April. To a run of 17 Premier League games in the month of April without a win. It's been a good month for them so far. They'll round it off with a trip to Burnley next week before hosting Chelsea in a game in hand on Wednesday the 29th of April. Next week absolutely massive as what is now the bottom two in the league to meet each other. Atmosphere here at the KP, the 19th largest stadium in England. Vasilevsky to play the ball down the line, but it's cut out by Nelson Oliveira, who's not really made too much of an impact with Swansea since joining on loan from Benfica. Just made one start this season, which was back in January. Hasn't scored for the club. Hasn't scored since March 2014. Leicester in possession down the left with Jeffrey Schlupp. Hawthorne, Morgan cut out by Key. 7 goals for Swansea this season, a decent return from him. Top scorer behind Wilfred Bonney, who's obviously since departed for Manchester City. Gomes has got 5, replacing Bonney in most of the games so far, but he's now out injured. Oliveira now back at Gary Monk's disposal following an ankle problem. We've got Carl Bartley back on the bench today, who had a knee operation to tidy up a torn. All kinds of cartilage floating around there. That's all been sorted out now. He's back involved. Ball down the line here for Leicester. Down the right-hand side with Albrighton, looking to take on Awa. He's already on a yellow card. He's going to have to be careful. Albrighton getting one into the area. Headed away. Joe was approaching. Leicester well up for this. Cambiasso playing the ball forward, gives it to Williams. It's misplayed from him. Misplaced rather. He played 7.5 minutes. Here comes Schlupp again. Ball into the middle, away by Williams once more from the left. Schlopp getting that bounce in front of him and out for a throw. Stadium going to be behind Leicester here. Schlopp taking to Cambiasso, who played a 1-2 down the line, but Schlopp's first touch wasn't great and the ball bounces behind for a goal kick. Fabianski will take the Polish international. Very much on the bench at Arsenal last season, but has come in and taken the number 1 spot this term after Michel Vorm left. 11 clean sheets so far. Back in with Schmeichel, who's been dealt a dodgy back pass by Morgan and has to take a touch before volleying it out of play, only a few yards up from the corner flag. Shakes his head, it wasn't his fault really. Morgan letting the ball bounce and then played a very high ball back to Schmeichel. The ball wasn't going to go in, he would have gone for a corner, but Schmeichel dealing with it in the end. 28 now, Kasper Schmeichel. Doesn't seem as though he's been around for that long, but already getting to his prime years. He's playing a ball forward there for Swansea, but the offside flag up against Ansel Rangel, the 32-year-old. Long kick by Schmeichel, high into the air, looking for the head of Uja, who gets the flick to Kramaric. Hooked away by Key. Cork helping it on its way as well. Uja picking up the loose ball late. Call into the starting 11 today with Nugent getting injured in the warm-up. Doesn't look too serious. Just seen a shot of him on our monitor here, seated in the stand along with the other players not involved today, like Danny Simpson. Throw in here for Leicester, taken by Albrighton. He's making just his 4th start of the campaign. Been very much in and out of Nigel Pearson's side. Did play last week against West Brom. Coming forward, but the flag up for offside again against Routledge. Until it comes to an end. Swansea have not won in any of their last 10 trips to Leicester in all competitions. Their last win here was in the old Division 2 in 1950 when they won by 3-2. And the home team has won in the last 7 encounters between these teams in all competitions. The last match they played before the reverse fixture in October was in the Championship in January 2011. Denies Cassell and Scott Sinclair among the scorers that day. But it was the Wilfred Bonney double which won the game for the Swans back at the end of October. Vasilevsky letting the ball bounce here, and Oliveira nearly gets the better of him. Coming back to win the ball is Andy King. Albrighton arcs, arches the ball forward. Straight back though, and Cambiasso taking no chances as he heads back to the goalkeeper Schmeichel. The ball out short. We've played nearly 12 minutes here. Leicester 0, Swansea 0 here on talkSPORT Live. We're playing forward by Schmeichel, but it just drifts over the head of Rangel. And now to play for a throw. 12 minutes gone here at the King Power Stadium, where it's Leicester City 0, Swansea City 0. Leicester starting like a house on fire in the opening seconds as Jamie Vardy raced through. He was denied at the end. Swansea not really offering too much so far on a very sunny day in Leicester. Chances at a premium. We've had more offsides than shots so far. It's Leicester 0, Swansea 0. Morgan going all the way back to Schmeichel again. Starting from the back with Vasilevsky, trying to play their way forward. clips a high one to the halfway line this time for Cambiasso, who helps it on for Kramaric, who drops in deep, the January signing from Rijeka. Well, Brighton coming inside. Himself a signing last summer, a free transfer from Aston Villa. Cambiasso lifting a high one into the area. Goes over everyone, but out to the right-hand side where Andrej Kramaric picks it up. Crosses from the right, it's a high ball towards the far post. Nodded down by Vardy. Ujo's in there, tries to get his body between man and ball, which he does, but Swansea just about do enough to bring the ball away. Year-old Wayne Routledge plays the ball inside for Swansea, but they've given it away. Out toward Brighton on the right. Oh, Brighton tries to cross. It hits the boot of Jordi Amat and goes behind for a corner. Promising stuff here from the Foxes. And again, the big men forward. They've got a very tall team at the moment in this starting 11. Morgan, Huth, Cambiasso, Vasilevski and Kramaric all in there, headed away by Swansea. It's back into the area, helped on by Morgan, away by Federico Fernandez. Back up to halfway, Vasilevski. There's the ball forward and it's taken on by Robert Huth, who's in an advanced position. Vasilevski again, lifting it high into the area. Ujoa gets the flick on it, drops to Leonardo Ujoa! Breakthrough for Leicester City! The man who wasn't even going to be in the starting lineup today, put in minutes before kick-off by Nigel Pearson, gets the opening goal. The top scorer with his 8th of the season to make it Leicester 1, Swansea 0. Great start for Leicester, and it's been rewarded with a goal. Full punt forward, eventually dropping for Leonardo Ujoa, who just thrashed the ball into the bottom corner. Morgan's punt into the area, nodded on by Ujoa, came down off a defender, and Ujoa was there to just rifle the ball into the bottom corner. He wasn't going to miss from there, from 8 yards out. And his shirt being held as well, could easily have claimed for a penalty. And Leonardo Ujoa, who was expecting to be sitting on the substitutes bench, twiddling his thumbs, gives Leicester the opening goal. Nearly 16 minutes gone. As things stand with scores elsewhere, we'll put Leicester up to 18th place in the table, level on points with Hull in 17th. 2 more goals with a Everton win or draw, and Leicester would be out the bottom 3. Suddenly there's belief around the King Power Stadium, and they come forward again. Ball forward from Schlupp, looking for Vardy. Vardy miscontrols, and Swansea have it back midway inside their own half with Shelvey. Tips the ball forward over the top, but Routledge slips, and Morgan tries to clear it up, but it hits the back of player furthest forward there, who's Sigurdsson. Just kept in by Swansea. Playing along the back line. Williams to Fernandez, signed from Napoli. Came over to Europe in 2011 from Estudiantes. Got his big money move and slotted reasonably well into the Swansea back line this season. He's all Brighton down the right for Leicester, who have it back off the Swans and lead here by a goal to 0. Kramaric playing it forward for Vardy, who can't quite control, and Swansea doing their utmost to get it back. Oliveira on halfway for them. Tidy back heel into the path of Shelvey. Monk, the Swansea manager, distancing himself with reports linking him to West Ham this week. The thought is that Sam Allardyce will be leaving there at the end of the season, and Monk, having steered Swansea to 8th place so far, could be fit to take over. He says that's rubbish. The side have kept just 3 clean sheets in the last 14 Premier League games. It's 3 and 15 now. All those have come away from home. That's that tally here. They have conceded the first goal, and it's Leonardo Ulloa who has it. 3rd offside of the game here against Swansea, meanwhile. Free kick which will be taken by Schmeichel. Monk out on the touchline. Suited and booted, the 35-year-old. Top manager of the month in August this season. So they beat Manchester United 2-1 on the opening day. Just over a year in charge after he took over from Michael Laudrup. 10 years at the club as a player. Header from Cambiasso. In the air, a bit of head tennis going on at the moment as Morgan wins the second ball. Cambiasso down the left channel, lifts it forward, it takes a nick off a Swansea head and is put behind by Fernandes for a corner. Cambiasso is the man charged with taking the flag kick from the left-hand side. It'll be an outswinger in front of the family stand here at the KP. Their 3rd corner of the game. 1 arm aloft from him. Swings it over, away from goal, headed towards goal, but it's a header high over the bar and behind from the goal scorer Ulloa. We've got the opener after 15 minutes here. Such a good finish from the Argentine, and the whole Leicester bench up off their seats to celebrate as we just see a replay of it now. It meant so much to them. Could well mean so much to them. Bottom of the table as we go into this game. Still coming forward again down the right, but Fabianski off his line makes a good decision, the Polish international, and claims the ball. Still Everton 0, Burnley 0, and Stoke 0, Southampton 0 at the Britannia. You can follow us on Twitter at talkSPORT Live, follow us on Facebook by searching for talkSPORT Live, follow us on YouTube by searching for talkSPORT, and get in touch with us on Blackberry channels by searching talkSPORT. Here come Leicester down the right with Albrighton, cuts inside, Albrighton goes for goal, curls one just wide of goal as Leicester search for that second goal, which would give themselves some breathing space against Swansea here, but Albrighton unable to find the target. Looking for his first goal since December 2011. It's been a long old time for him without hitting the back of the net. And a few yards away from finding the target on that occasion. Southampton leading at Stoke now.